Anyhow, what happens when the lights go out? Let's find out. I'd like to present Dwight Kehoe. Has a wonderful presentation about emergency preparedness. I'm sure you've all seen preppers on TV. I don't know that we would take it that far. I've seen that these guys go a little crazy, but I'm prepared because I live out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm ready to go. When it snows, I don't go for milk or bread. I just go home. Dwight Kehoe, everybody.
Hello. Okay, listen, just like Terrence over here, I'm not a professional speaker. My name is Dwight Kehoe. I was originally with the Bayshore Tea Party and the New Jersey Tea Party. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. All right. And right now I run a website that's called TPath. It's tpath.org. It's pretty easy. It's just the letters, TPath. And what we've been doing over the last year and a half is trying to coordinate different functions with the Tea Party groups in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, New York. So it's a great source for information. We have contributors, and during that time, a lot of people have come to me and asked us what we can do about preparing for any possible emergencies that we might have. So we got a group together. We named the group. Next week we're going to have the first organization group of it. And in the meantime, what we've done is we've gone around to different tea parties. This is about the 5th or 6th one that we've talked to. And basically we want to make everybody aware of the problems and the possibilities of what's going on in the world today, in this country especially. So I'm going to try to go through this a little. Usually I have a little bit more help here, but I'm here by myself tonight. Of course, Nick is here. But basically what I'm going to try to do is go through, and I think that, Danny, you handed out some packets?
Yes, I did.
Right? Okay. So I more or less kind of speak from my heart. I'm going to go over different categories. I may leave something out, but what I've left out may well be in your packages. So the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about the purpose of the presentation and inform the people of the threats, so things we have to evaluate, and contingency plans, what we might have to do, and the different levels of threats that we might be under. Now, one of the things that's important is that we protect and do things to protect our families, our grandchildren, our immediate friends, and also our Tea Party people. Now, as we start walking, as I get into this, I want to tell you that I'm not predicting any of the things that we're going to talk about here. We're not black helicopters. We're not worrying about, absolute for sure calamities, but we do know that there's a possibility. So we're saying that we want to be prepared and we want to be ready. It's better to be prepared and have spent a little bit of time and effort and energy in preparing for things than not have prepared and need it. So what we want to do is we want to talk about different types of disasters that we could have. Of course, there's man-made disasters, and we all know about that. We know that there's terrorism, sabotage, chemical and bacterial problems, and also this thing that might be coming up that's called, well, Obama says that we have terrorism as man-made disasters. Well, I think we've got a problem here. We might have Obama-caused martial law. We have to be careful and make sure that we keep track of everything that's going on. Besides that, we have the possibility of natural disasters, floods and hurricanes. A lot of people probably don't know this, but right here on the East Coast, we are under a threat of a tsunami, and not the typical tsunami that happens with an earthquake underground or the shifting of the plates. But out in the Atlantic, there's an island called La Palma Islands in the Canaries. It's a mountain island, and it's splitting in half. All the geologists and scientists say that someday, next eruption, they don't know, but someday that's going to drop into the ocean. And when it does, it will send a tsunami to the east coast of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, about 1,000 feet high. Now, is it going to happen now? We don't know. It's like other things we don't know, but it's just something that can happen, just to show you that things like that could occur. just another reason to prepare and to get ready for different things. Now, they've done some studies that most people don't prepare for any kind of disaster. They don't do anything to take care of themselves, and about 91% of the people in this country never do anything to prepare for contingencies other than living their normal life. They've also done some studies showing that when there is a disaster area, about 86% of the people that survive have done something to protect themselves and to take care of different things. So the other thing as we get going here, we want to talk about, we can do all the planning, you can do all of the figure to calculate everything you might do, but none of that counts unless you actually get out and start doing the things you need to do. So, some of the preparations you can do will be things that will be either for short term or for long term, and nobody really knows, what kind of situations you're going to have. Now, rather than getting into too much of the political end of it, but we do know that over the years, over the last 100 years, when Marxist and communist governments take over countries, they don't let go of their power too easy. It's pretty much once in, never out, and you can see that over and over with people like Chavez and Putin and Castro. And you can also see, if you check over the years, that communist governments have been very devastating to their own people. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of people have been slaughtered by their own leaders and dictators. So, I'm not saying we have an absolute communist government here now, but we can see signs that over the years, these little dictators, they've done what they've done to hold on to power, even in small countries. And now you can see that they now have control over the richest, most powerful country in the world. I don't know whether they're going to walk away just because they lose an election, or if they're going to allow an election to happen. Again, this is just, I'm predicting this, I'm just saying that these are the things, the history, 150 years history of communist countries, is they don't walk away from the power. Now, okay, so there's a couple of different ways that, of course, they would try to hold on to power. And of course, the first thing would be is that they would try to win an election with the proper ways, with all of the money that they have spent. But if it gets to the point where they feel they aren't going to be able to win an election honestly, then they're going to take the next step. A lot of people might not know this, but the organization that they have now, that the Obama administration has signed up to count the ballots all across the country, is a company that has donated heavily to the Obama administration. These are the people that are going to be counting the votes. If the time comes that even if they can't do that, then something else will happen. Now, there's a lot of different forms of terrorism that we could worry about, but one thing you have to remember, that a sitting president has never ever been run out of office or not re-elected during times of major conflicts. That was all the way back to the Civil War with Lincoln, and all the way up through the Vietnam War. Even though it was unpopular, presidents were still re-elected all the way through the Korean War. Even Bush was re-elected during Iraq and Afghanistan. And believe me, this isn't lost on the liberals who are in control and power now. So what we're worried about is that somewhere along the line we're going to have a little October surprise, either some kind of a breakout in a war. And a lot of people say, listen, Obama's foreign policy is horrible. We've got all these hotspots all over the world. Well, we do, and they may be intentional. They may be his little hole, ace in the hole, to cause some kind of conflict that will possibly get him reelected. So, now of course there's a lot of different kind of terrorist acts. There's one major thing that's out there, something that's called an EMP. Now the EMP is an electromagnetic pulse that's created by a nuclear explosion, actually simultaneous nuclear explosions in the atmosphere. Now, this has been tested, and what happens is it creates electromagnetic waves that would go all across the country and destroy the grid. Not only the grid, might be the electric grid, communications, cell phones, satellites, everything would be out.
Your cars.
Everything. Cars after 1986, all of them will be inoperable. And in a matter of weeks, hundreds of thousands of people will be dead. And so these are some of the things we want to. Also, Iran has been, the IAEA has shown that, yes.
There's a book out that's called 1 Second After. Short book, easy reading, talks about this and what would happen.
And so basically what they would do, even a country like Iran, who has, the IAEA has said that they have been testing upper atmosphere simultaneous explosions. Now, the only reason for that would be to explode an IMP weapon.
EMP.
Now, the thing is, they wouldn't even have to have these on an intercontinental missile. They could put these on ships, on the missiles that they have now, the technology that China has been given them, that Pakistan has been given them. They could actually send a ship over to the Gulf. They could send one to the Pacific and one to the Atlantic, shoot these things up, and send an electromagnetic pulse across, which would wake communication out throughout the country. Yes. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is better. Okay. So now, and the thing is, people would say, well, would Iran do something like that? Well, if you know Iran and what their beliefs are.
No, not you can't.
Okay. What their beliefs are is they're waiting for the 12th Imam. Now, the 12th Imam is their belief is that he will come back, and when he comes back, that at that point they will build up a Muslim army and wipe out all the infidels. The problem with the return of the 12th Imam is that it can't happen until the world is under complete conflagration, world war, and their belief is that they can bring this 12th Imam on by causing this. So we would talk about the Soviet Union and mutual, madness, to where you would, we're not going to blow up them because they won't blow it up. Iran doesn't care. So if something like that happens, we would be in big trouble. Now, another thing, our power grid in this country, we have 1,200 power plants, 100 nuclear plants, and 400 coal plants. If just 20% of those were shut down simultaneously for any reason, we would have a cascading power failure all across the country, and we would be in big trouble. Now, another few disturbing facts is that we've had no new coal plants in 3 years. No upgrades. We haven't built new coal plants in over 10 years, and every day more coal plants are shutting down. We've had over 100 shut down in the last 3 years. And of course, we're not going to get any more. Now, we have had 2 permits issued to Georgia for nuclear plants, and that was just a couple days after the Georgia court threw out the allowance eligibility thing. So I don't know if it was payback or what, but even those plants probably won't be built for many years. All right, so the other thing is, if we did have a power failure and it was done, intentionally, we don't really know, any way to stop it or to keep track of it. But okay, so of course, if we did have a social breakdown, I just want to go over a couple of things. We had a loss of power to our homes, factories, and schools, and department stores. Hospitals, school stations, emergencies, and fire stations, after using the VMT generators, would be down. Gas stations wouldn't be able to pump gas. Telephones, internet, iPads, cell phones, everything would go offline. We would have no heat to warm your house, electricity, keep your food cold, and deliveries of every kind would cease. Food, hardware stores, pharmaceuticals would all be empty within days. 9/11 service calls. After a couple of days, after these utility companies ran out of power for the generators, they'd be offline too. If the power remained for several days, utilities they would no longer pump water. A lot of people say, "Oh, I got water, I got phone when the power's out," but after a few days of no energy, it's going to be all gone. So I know this sounds a little crazy, but we couldn't imagine what we would do if we knew about this, thought about it, and didn't do anything to plan. So basically what we want to do is we want to talk about a few things. We'll get into this, the nuts and bolts, to talk about a few things that each of us should be doing. And this won't take too much longer. Okay. First thing is you want to store food. You want to do canned fruits and vegetables, and like Danny said, you can can your own. You can buy the food storage companies. There's food insurance. You can buy these things and put them in your basement. You can put water away. And even your regular cans of fruits and vegetables in cans, even though they tell you they're only good for a couple of years, you can actually use them for well over 10 years. You just want to make sure that the cans aren't cracked or bent or anything like that. But begin putting these things away as soon as you can. You don't have to do a lot. I know a lot of people don't have a lot of money and they don't have a lot of time, but go to the supermarket, there's a sale, buy a few extra things, put them in the basement, and get working on it. Also, water containers, you're going to get water for cooking and everything else like that so that you have plenty of water. What we've done is we've bought these big containers, the 5-gallon containers. We've got about 20 of them, and we filled them with water. We got them down in our storage area because they say that if without water, most people need about a gallon of water a day, and you probably really need a little more. That's not for washing anything, that's just for normal living. But another thing you want to get your hands on and make sure that you put away is cash. ATMs will be down, banks will be down, nobody's going to be taking your credit card, you're not going to be able to write any checks. So you want to put a little cash away every week. If you have a little safe, you have a safe, or if you have some place where you can hide it, just put a little bit away until you have a sufficient amount of cash and you might be able to make some deals under bad conditions. Now, what you want to do is you want to try and get 10s and 20s and 5s, because you don't want to go out trying to buy something with a $100 bill and nobody's got your cash. You'll be spending $100 on a roll of toilet paper. So you want to make sure that you have enough small bills to handle these things. And not only that, there's other things you can barter. If you can store actually cigarettes, even if you don't smoke, cigarettes are a great barter issue. Alcohol is a great thing to barter. I mean, it might be a little bit, maybe on the bad side, but it's really something that you can do. Now, the other thing is you want to store gasoline. You want to make sure that you have enough gasoline to run your generator, which we're going to talk about in a second. And you want to make sure you prepare your gasoline storage with a stabilizer, and make sure that that you keep them in 5-gallon cans. You don't want to get too like 55-gallon can of gasoline. You want to set them, stabilize them, and set them into place. The stabilizer, by the way, what it does is, especially today with the gasolines today that have all this alcohol in it, the alcohol turns to muck. So you get this, you get the alcohol mixture, it settles, and the next thing you know, your gasoline won't run anything. In fact, it gums up the carburetors of these different equipment. So you want to make sure that if you do store gasoline, store enough of it, and make sure that you stabilize it. And you can get that at Lowe's or Home Depot, anywhere you want. Okay, again, everybody should have a generator. It doesn't have to be a big generator, because we're not talking about running your house for running your TV and everything else, but you want to just be able to run that generator a couple, maybe 15, 20 minutes every 2 hours to keep the refrigerator cold. You get a power outage, we had one here not too long ago. The thing is, you don't know how long the outage is going to be. It could be a couple days, a couple hours, it could be a couple weeks, and if something's really gone wrong, it could be months. So you want to conserve, and you want to make sure that everybody in your house knows how to handle that generator, how to turn it on, how to store it. Again, you want to store it, you want to make sure that it's full, you want to make sure that it's stabilized. And once you stabilize it, run it for a little while to get that stabilized gas into the ignition system in the carburetor so that you don't have problems with it. Okay, so you also want to have, you want to store up. These are things that you want to just put together, little packages and things that you have. You want to make sure that you have flashlights and batteries. Kerosene, we know that a couple of guys have bought kerosene lamps with the little bags. They can run on anything. They can run on acetone. They can run on kerosene. It can run on gasoline, and it's a good way to save running your generator. Now, another thing you want to have a lot of candles. Candles come in handy. They you can actually warm your houses with them. You can actually use them to heat your food, or you can even buy these little sternos, these little things that are like alcohol mixtures. They can actually heat up a room if you want to. But you should have some of these in your storage thing. Now also, you might want to have some blankets and tents and tape and sleeping bags and knives and metal sharpening stuff. And this next item here is very, very important. Medicine and prescription drugs. So many people today, especially in our age group, are so dependent on prescription drugs. You want to try and get as much of a prescription drug that you have stored and put away. Sometimes I know you can't overdo prescriptions, but you might want to maybe skip a pill a day every once in a while. Put it away so that you have enough to get you through a period of time if your drugstores are closed and you can't get to your medicine. The study that we talked about earlier said that if we lose total grid power in this country and nothing moves for a couple of weeks, the first 2 weeks, over 100,000 Americans will die because of lack of prescription drugs. So for us to take care of something like that, it's something that we can do and take care of. Now the next item here is our Second Amendment thing. The next item is here is self-protection. We can spend plenty of time putting together these packages, preparing our family, preparing our friends. If we get to a point where they know what we have and we can't protect it, then we might as well not have done it at all. So what we've done is we've talked about trying to get people. So how many people here have guns now? Or okay, so not very many. And I believe it's very important that everybody in this Tea Party group, everybody in these Patriot groups, get one and learn how to use it. Now the thing is, we all know that our governor here is not exactly a Second Amendment aficionado. And every day, not only in New Jersey, but also across this country, they're doing everything they can to keep us from being armed. And another thing, you know, communist governments, they're good at probably two things. One is keeping power, and the other is keeping their people uninformed, uneducated, and unarmed. We've got to make sure that we are armed and we're able to protect ourselves at any cost. So, there's a few things that you have to do to go through now. I do have the packages out there, but you have to remember that today in New Jersey there's very, very stiff penalties if you break a gun law. So we have to make sure that as long as we're in a position where we're going to own a gun or a series of guns, we're going to do it the right way, we're going to follow the laws and do it exactly the way that they should.
I just want to add something, being a female. It's so important. It's so important that we all are armed. It's our Second Amendment right, and we need to practice it. And the NRA is really the only big organization with any political clout that is defending our Second Amendment. And without the Second Amendment, none of the rest of this matters. We can't defend ourselves without that. So I'm armed. I learned how to. You know, I bought a gun, I got registered, I bought a gun, I learned how to shoot a gun a couple years ago. It's not a big deal. It's really our responsibility as citizens. I mean, we may need to defend ourselves from a government that is out of control, or we may just need to defend our families, or we may need to find food. But in any event, it is your right as a citizen, and really it's your responsibility as a citizen. And if anybody needs any help, I'm willing to take people with me. I'm willing to help you learn how to shoot. I'm willing to help you learn about guns, about going through the process. But I just want you to know, you can tell from my voice how important this is to me.
That's Maureen.
Maureen. Maureen Horgan, yes. Dwight can give me my name.
Okay. Yeah, that's Maureen Horgan, and she's all long-time Tea Party. All right, so and what we've done is we've put together a list of things that you would need to do to purchase a gun. There's a few steps, and it's something that's that I'm going to go through the steps just so you can kind of get it in your head. It's in the package. Okay. First of all, you have to go down to your local police station, and you've got to fill out the paperwork. They may or may not ask you why you want a weapon under the Constitution. They don't have a right to do that, but you'll have to get, first you'll get the paperwork and the local police chief will do a search on you. If everything looks fine, then they'll give you a piece of paper where you can go and get fingerprinted. Now the fingerprinting is what takes the longest amount of time. If you were to start tomorrow here in New Jersey, it'll be 90 days before you see your first weapon. So it's important that you do this as soon as you can. So after you get fingerprinted, then the paperwork goes back to your local police station. He will then do another check. When he's done checking, he sends it to the state police. They will do another check. When that check is done, then they bring you the paperwork back, they notify you. You also have to get 2 references from people that you've known for a few years and not party members. You have to make sure that they know this is coming, because the paperwork will come, they'll have to fill it out, and they'll have to send it back. So, but the basically thing too is once you get your weapon, you want to be sure that you follow the laws. And believe me, there are about 1,300 different laws in Jersey here alone, covering everything from ammunition to how you handle it. But a few of the basic things are this: you never carry your weapon loaded, okay? Unless we're under under attack or something. And this is pre-calamity, okay? So never carry your weapon outside of the weapon case. If you're transporting it someplace, it has to be in your case. You never have your unloaded weapon in your vehicle glove box with ammunition in the same location. You go to jail if you do. Okay, so and listen, they understand that from time to time they're going to send upstanding citizens to jail for making mistakes with the firearm law. That is intentional, because their intent is to scare you from your Second Amendment rights. Okay, so all we have to do is make sure that we follow these basic rules, even though we may not like them, but we must follow them. Otherwise, you'll find yourself in jail. Governor Christie did the right thing a few months ago when he let that young man out that was in jail for 5 years for having his gun in his car when he left his house, forgetting that it was in there. So I was actually surprised that Christie did that, but he did. All right. So the other thing is, you can never have your weapon in your car unless you're going directly to a range, if you're going to get your gun fixed, if you're going hunting, or if you're moving. But the thing to remember that if you're going to the range, you cannot stop anywhere. You can't even stop at McDonald's if that weapon's in your car. You have to go directly there and directly back. Very, very important. It's happened. People have been arrested, and it's a felony. Okay. So. Now about the weapon, like Maureen said, a lot of people are kind of afraid of a weapon. I bought my wife a .357 Magnum and took her out to the range with it, and she shoots better than I do. And she's very comfortable with it. And the thing is, what you want to do is you have to go by some certain standard rules with the weapon. You want to be comfortable with your weapon, but you never want to take it for granted. You always want to treat every single weapon like it's loaded. Every time you handle your weapon, you want to check to see if it's loaded. If anybody hands you a weapon, you want to check and see that it's loaded, if it's not loaded. Even if you've seen him check, you do it yourself, because only loaded guns kill people on purpose. Unloaded ones kill them by mistake. So we want to make sure that you always be careful. Then you want to be comfortable with your gun. You want to know how to handle it. You want to know what to do with it. You got to practice with your gun. There's a couple of different ways to shoot. There's sight shooting, where you can do actual target practicing and picking little spots. But under emergency, what we're looking for is a different kind of shooting. It's called point and fire, where you have to get a feel for it, and you've got to practice at it, and it's got to be done that way. And of course, there's laser sights, but then your battery's got to be good and all of that. But okay, that's enough of the weapons. But like Maureen said, it's very, very important. It's our Second Amendment right, and we all, especially as organizations, if we're gonna band together under times of emergencies, we've all got to be in a position to protect ourselves and each other. Okay, now we can move on to some more survival items, the duct tape and things like that you want to put away. Danny talked about communications. We're in the process of organizing about 22 different Tea Party leaders across New Jersey that are in the process, and I'm one of them, of getting their ham radio license. The ham radio license is another thing. It's controlled by the FCC. You can't transmit any kind of ham wave under any frequency unless you have a license. There's a couple of grades of licenses. Of course, under an emergency, you can do what you want. But in the meantime, while we're organizing and setting up, everybody has to go by the laws, and you have to take these tests and get these things. What we're planning on doing is we're setting up a grid of Tea Party leaders who are going to be in contact with each other through certain communications and certain ham frequencies that under emergencies they can contact each other and decide what to do. So the ham radio is good. I mean, there are some small handset radios, hand radios, even the mobile radios. They're only good for short distances unless they hit towers. The towers have to have repeaters to get any distance. And again, under emergency, you're going to have the same problem there. If the grid is down, those repeaters aren't going to be working. So basically, you want to have a good, decent ham radio set that can get travel through the lower ionosphere and get at least across New Jersey without having to depend on any radio towers or any other thing. Again, you want to have a tool set. You want to have the basic tools like hammers and hacksaws and screwdrivers and things, and have them. You can use them all the time, but at least have them in a carry-all or a canvas bag that you can have and you can get in your car quick. Okay. Also, we have to consider that under times of real long-time disaster, you may have to defend your house. You may have to set certain things up, certain things that that you need to keep people from breaking into your house. Nick was going to talk about that, but we don't really have the time tonight, so what we're going to do is we're just going to move on with that. Just keep in mind, though, that on our website, we have the Tea Party Leadership Committee website. If you go there, we have all kinds of resources for ways to protect your house, how to fortify your doors, how to fortify certain things. I know this might all sound like a little crazy, but it's things that if you haven't done them and you need them, you're going to be sorry you didn't.
What's the website?
Well, for instance, your front door.
What's the website?
Oh, the website is www.tpath.org. It's tpath.org. You go down to the bottom of the front page, you'll see the emblem for the Tea Party Leadership Survival Committee. Click on that and it'll take you to the page with all of the resources. Okay. All right, now, another thing that we talked about is there's a possibility that under certain conditions, and we're not really saying that we believe that our government may do this, but there may come a time when they'll come to your house and take your weapons from you. They'll come to your house and maybe take some other things. So there are other things that, again, Nick was going to talk about this tonight. There's ways that you can, we call it the PVC vault. And basically, you can take it into your backyard. You can dig a hole 4 or 5 feet deep down and bury a piece of PVC conduit. Seal it up, and you can use this as a container. You put it in your garden. You cover it back up with mulch. Nobody knows it's there. You have a place to put extra ammunition. You can put your guns there if you're afraid somebody's going to come and take them from you. You can put your money there. Even people, if you're saving this cash that we talked about, you don't want all your cash in one spot. Take some of it and put it out in your vault. If your house burns down, you have to leave your house in a hurry. You can always come back and get it. So in other words, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. But it is good to have those things. Now, the final part here that we're going to talk about is all right, we're going to just say that we've done everything that we need to do as far as storing material, food, and ammunition, and learn how to use them, and everything else that we need to do. But we also have to talk to our families. You've got to talk to your children and tell them not to discuss what you've done in your house. You've got to tell them not to talk about your ammunition, your guns, your food, everything, your storage that you put away. Because yesterday's friend could be the guy that's breaking into your house tomorrow to get what you worked to save. It should be your decision who you're going to help. It shouldn't be somebody else's to take your stuff. So you want to make sure that your children, your grandchildren know certain things within a house have to stay that way. Another thing too, if there's a breakdown in communication, transportation, and a lot of people, you can do this. I mean, everybody should do this, especially you know, if you're taking care of your grandchildren or your children. Give them, you know. Sometimes they might not be able to get back home. They might not be able to call you. So what you want to do, you want to have an alternate location where you can meet. Have them go to these locations. Have someplace that they're familiar with, under a bridge. Someplace that everybody's familiar with that they can get to if they can't get home and things are going to hell in a handbasket. It's something little, but it's something that could save your children's life or your grandchildren's life in the event of a big disaster. Okay, now if something was to happen to your home, whether it be unsafe or something worse, have at least one alternate home or a friend or family member where your children can meet you if they come to your home and you're gone, or something's happened. So have them know where to go and how to get there. In the event of emergency, tell your children to trust only close family friends. This is important because not only will there be marauders out there looking to take your stuff, but disasters have a tendency to bring out all kinds of people. So you want to make sure your children don't fall prey to somebody. You want to set up secret passwords with your kids. So if somebody comes to get your kid to bring them someplace, have your kid ask them for that password that you've set up and used. Those are the things that'll help your kid get where he's supposed to be and keep people from taking advantage of him. All right, now, what we're going to discuss next week, and we'll get back, is we're going to talk about how we're going to set up different things for the different Tea Party leaders throughout the state. And the intent is to keep each of the Tea Party names and each of the Tea Party leaders off any special list. Nobody's going to be emailing, mass emailing, talking to you. You have to understand that every Tea Party has our little liberal lurkers, and we want to make sure that certain information for if we have a major catastrophe is kept within a certain group of people who at that time would know who to hand the information out to. So a little bit of security in this area is going to be a good thing, and that's why we've kind of worked our way at that. Now I've just got one more thing to say. This is the extreme scenario, and we don't really want to think about this, but it's certainly something that could happen. There's a possibility that the breakdown in civil defense and police protection could be long-term, where every citizen will be on his own. The police won't be there to help you anymore. They're probably out there helping themselves with their family. If this happens, it won't take long for bands of marauders to gather up and take off and attack people. And it's happened world over. Luckily, it hasn't happened much here in the United States, but over a long time period where you don't have police protection, it could happen. Now we can see too that we've been working on this organization here now for several months. You can see how long it takes to organize a defense, organize a system. Bad guys could take about 20 minutes, and they're on their way. And so the thing is, so we've got to prepare ahead of time to make sure that anything that happens like that we can handle. Now, individuals may be able to defend their family against one or two people coming into their home. But if the numbers get too outrageous, you're just not. I don't care how good a shot you are, Nick. You're not going to be able to do it. So there may come a time when you'll have to leave your home. It's a bad decision, but life and death importance. Some or all may have to abandon their homes and form a group of patriots to set up a defense in a pre-researched and defendable location. With the proper tools and equipment, there's no doubt that we as Tea Party people can survive. We're all hard workers. We'll be able to do what has to be done. But there's no doubt that if we haven't prepared, we haven't organized, we won't survive. So it's important that we start. Okay, now part of being prepared will be to have a certain set of tools along with them, survival supplies as we discussed earlier, in a known location, ready to go to. Area captains, that's the people who are going to appoint, these 22 people that we've had so far. They're going to have to stay in touch with each other through different means, and if we've lost power communication, this communication will be through ham radio networks. We'll have special frequencies set up so that we'll be on them, special codes, which by the way is against the FCC rules. You're not allowed to speak in code over the ham radio network, but we'll do that anyway because it's something important we have to do. Of course, leaving our homes would be the most dreaded move that we could imagine, but if it meant the life of your family and your friends, against unstoppable odds, that's something that you'll have to do. So a committee that we're formed now is we're in the process of investigating the areas and locations that the Tea Party groups all across the state will go to in the event of any long-term disaster, where we can set up a defensible border, bring our supplies, and take care of our families. So basically, that's it. I kind of rushed through a lot of this, but I'm not really good at reading. So I can tell you, if you go to teapath.org and you go to the Tea Party website portion, many resources are there, books and information and things to do. And Danny will be letting you guys know what happens with our next meeting and how we're going to go. Each area captain or Tea Party leader, whoever the Tea Party appoints, they will be responsible for monitoring and being set and ready as things degrade. So that's it. That's all I have. Oh,